Welcome back to Needle Felting a Fairy with Wire Part 2. Today we are going to focus on the second and final part, which will be the face details and then adding all the beautiful details to the body. I just wanted to quickly say you can go with any style you like. This is a really gorgeous forest fairy style, and the legs here I've just wrapped lots of wool tops around there to give that lovely stripy effect. This one has the full dress and legs, and then if you wanted to go for something quicker and more simple, you can go with the tree toppers, and they don't have any legs at all. So if you want to miss out the legs, then that's absolutely fine. And I am going to make, I think, a sugar plum fairy. So I've got all these really lush wool tops, and wool tops do work best for this, but also just grab whatever you have. I might use some of this sari silk. I've got beautiful pearls for the hair. I've got, this is bio nylon. It's a sparkly bio nylon. That's a pure white bio nylon. Those are from World of Wool, so they're actually really good for embellishments. And then I've got a couple of other wools here. Just grab whatever you've got. You know, there's no limits to what you can make or what you want to add with this. And then I've also got a really cute little crown as well. So let's get straight into it. The first thing I'm going to do is add some detail to the face. So this is a little snub nose fairy, and it's just some extra detail, and I think it works really nicely. It just gives it something extra. A lot of fairies don't have any details at all, but I do like to have a little bit of detail sometimes, not always. That one looks beautiful. And you can just go with a really simple hairstyle as well. You don't need locks at all, and you can create your own. There's videos on that, so I will add some links. So for the nose, we're going to use the same colour because it's all going to be blended in. I'm going to take a tiny piece. It really is the smallest piece of wool. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it in my hands. I'm not really going to felt this. I still think that might be too big. Roll in my hands. I'm just trying to do this the easiest way for you, and I think this is how it works the best. Okay, so I'm just going to take my needle, and I'm just, those wisps that I've left there, I'm just going to curl those up, and then I'm going to plonk that straight onto the face here. Now you're going to see all the lines. That doesn't matter. We're going to put another layer on top which will get rid of all of that. And I'm going to swap to my 40 because now we're working on the face details. I don't want to squash or damage any of that work we've already put in creating that really nice shape. So as you can see, just pop this somewhere in the centre, just so it felts down. And that is about all you need to do. That's just a bit visible there, so I'm just going to poke that in. I'm going to push that back so that actually sits a little bit more flush on the face. Can you see that there? And they're called snub nose fairies because it's just a little snub of a nose, and that's all there is. Now I'm going to, it's gone on pretty well, but as you can see, you've got these lines and marks, and we really don't want to see them. We really are aiming for perfection, and perfection is quite easy to achieve with these. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take a really thin wisp of the same coloured wool. I'm going to fold that over, and then what I'm going to do is I think I'll go up like so I can felt that under the chin. So if I hold that there, just felt that under the chin. You see how that's covered it, and it makes it more of a suggestion of a nose than something really obvious, because we really want subtle effects for this. So I'll just pull that over, and then the reason I've done it under the chin is so that we can pull the wool tight and avoid felting on the actual face with the needle as much as possible, because we don't want to see any needle marks. But what we do want to do, we want to take out any air. So I'm going to go just along the line of the nose. You do want the detail just underneath, just to tack it really gently. I mean, can you see that? It's very gentle. And then I'm going to go to the top of the head, because it doesn't really matter up here. The hair is going to cover all of this. And that is all you need. And that is just that suggestion, and you can use your fingers and you can accentuate it a little more. Your fingers are great tools, don't forget to use them. They are as important as any other tool you will use in needle felting. I just want to make sure that's central. And I'm just going to pull some wisps over. And that, for me, I think is enough. Now you can go further with it, you can make it bigger, you make it a different shape, but for me that's just a suggestion of a nose, and this keeps it really simple. So if you're a really confident needle felter, then you may want to do an entire face, or you may not. It's entirely up to you, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you all the simple techniques that you'll need as a beginner, which can then be used for you as a more confident needle felter to embellish and add your own personalisation. And that's the trick, really. And as I said before, you don't have to use wire for needle felting to be a good needle felter. You just need to practice to be a good needle felter. Wire doesn't come into it, doesn't even factor in that at all. Wire is just another tool that you use, and most projects can be used, can be created without wire. So do not get hung up on using wire and all these marvellous things you see with wire. Lots of marvellous things don't have wire at all. And I use wire if it needs it. But we'll come to another tutorial on that at another time. And if you are really enjoying the content, it'd be brilliant if you could just drop me a like and a subscribe, and maybe even a share. That would be brilliant, just to let other people know about the channel. I really, really want to get people involved in crafts. That is going to be my mission going into the new year with my needle felting blog, and my YouTube, and my patterns, and all the things that I've got going on now that I'm not actually selling the physical products anymore. So that would be brilliant if you could support me. And also ask me anything in the comments. I love a question. I will answer your questions. Maybe not within the first couple of hours. It depends what time the questions come in, because I have weird sleeping patterns. But just ask me anything in the comments. Don't be frightened to ask. There's nothing silly about asking a question. It's the old cliche, the only daft question is the one that doesn't get asked. Nobody is going to critique you for asking a question. I certainly won't. It will be, be my honour to sort of, help and get you felting, and get that wool stash out. Get it out. Stop hiding it under the cupboards. It's time to start. Right, let's get going. That's the nose done. Right, I want some freckles. I love freckles, but I also love blusher. And I'm just going to grab my little brush. And also, I'm not going to use these, but these are the Ranger range of ice stickles. You can see that. And these are gorgeous. So it's like little, really sort of subtle glitter set in a glue, wet glue base. And you can put that on. And I use that for the pig, for the cheeks, and for the ears, as you can see. And it just adds a little bit of fun. And that is I'm not affiliated with them, I don't get paid for mentioning them. Same as this video, I'm not paid for mentioning World of Wool, where I got all my lovely wool tops from, or the carded wool and wool tops I get from HEIDI Feathers. They are just companies I like to use and have used in over a decade of needle felting. Some videos are sponsored, but this isn't, and these are what I recommend. So, blusher. I'm actually going to use blusher because it's so much easier and gets a beautiful finish. So I'm just going to pop this. This is just like a little paintbrush, but you can use a blusher brush, that's fine. And it will stay on. It won't come off unless you start rubbing at it. And can you see that just adds that gorgeous rosy effect on each side? And then what I like to do is I tend to sort of turn it upside down. So just trying to do it so you can actually see what's going on. So you've got them in roughly the same place. And I just love the effect that that gives. And then in addition, I'm going to use, and I use a brown Sharpie for this because I just think it's a gorgeous colour. It's really great, and it's not stark like the black Sharpie. I wouldn't use that. So I'm just going to go in and just turn and add some freckles. I love adding freckles. I just think it gives it so much character. It's a really quick way to do it. And for the eyes, I am going to go for a sort of mid-brown. And the reason I go for this sort of middle brown is because a black is way too harsh. Just makes them look mean. And then this is like a really light form, but it's so similar to the actual wool I'm using. So let's go with this. But it depends what colour you've got for the base. So obviously if you've got a darker face, then you want to be using something darker. Now you want a tiny, tiny amount. You can see that. And just roll it in your fingers. We're not even going to felt it. And then we're going to find the spot we want it to stick to. And then we're going to just poke down. I always say with intent. And they want to be quite small, but they do want to look different to the freckles. So there you go. That's it. That's all it needs. Now the trick is trying to get the same on the other side. And if you have to pull these out a couple of times, just do it. Try not to use your needle to pull wool out. Try and use like a sewing needle or something like that. And if you've felted something really firmly, then and you want to remove it, say it's an arm or a leg, you know, a sort of limb of some sort, then I would definitely use a seam ripper. They are really good for removing limbs nicely and cleanly if you want to replace them. Just going to poke that down a little bit because I don't want them to be too big and scary. I mean, even that wool to me is a little bit dark. I may swap them out at some point, but I'm going to leave them for now. But there you go, that's it. And you can see how that is going to move forward into the fully formed dancing fairy as we continue. And that's it. That's it for the face and the eyes. So now we are going to dress the fairy. And the reason I use wool tops is because they flow really nicely. You don't get the same effect with a carded wool, and you can twizzle the ends and they look really natural, and I love them. You can use carded wool, no problem at all, but I just really like the effect we get from here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just show you how to create a little ballet slipper, and because I'm going for a sugar plum fairy, I have gone for the purple. I've done the first one to show you what I'm going to do, and it's really, really easy. So I've got some carded wool here, so I'm still using the carded wool for this part of the process, and I'm going to wrap that around thicker, and then I'm going to fold that because I want a nice clean edge where the shoe actually sits here, and then I'm going to flip that over and attach that to the back. And we're doing it at the back because we want to felt as much as possible here, where we're not going to be looking directly at it. And it will still look really nice and tidy at the back, but it will look perfect at the front. Let's have a look. And then over this end, we're just going to bring that over, bring it round with our needle, because we can add more. Let's get some going here at the back. Cover any of the visible body parts. And then we'll flatten this as we go, but I just want to get it in place. And you can also, you can trim any little wisps off as well, rather than spend hours trying to felt them in and spoiling the shape. But I just want to make sure that everything's nice and flat. And can you see here, we've got this dip where the shoe naturally lowers towards the toes. You know, we've got this curve. Dip. It's a dip. Use your words, Sandy. So I'm going to put my finger on there so that holds that, and then I'm going to, with my bigger needle, because we don't draw up with a fine needle, I'm just going to pull that up slightly, just to give it a little bit more height at the sides. Can you see how that's working? And then we'll just draw it back down again. And now back to the 40. So these are all great techniques that you can add to, you know, use with lots of other projects. I want to do some more work with reverse felting needles because they're just really underused and create just fantastic effects really easily, especially for your you know, your animals, for sort of fluffy effects. Now I can see a little bit of air there, so I'm just going to push that down so it's sticking up a bit. And I've got a little bald bit just there, which doesn't matter, but I don't really want to see that. I want it, you know, quite a nice deep colour. I don't want it to look blended. I want it to look like a solid colour. There we go. I'm taking my time showing you this because the technique's really easy, but unless you actually know the technique and you've seen it, you wouldn't know to do that. You wouldn't know to create that little curve. And all these things really add to the finished piece. I'm a bit cat-handed here, just so I can, you know, that you can see it. But can you see now? And then just felt that down there so it doesn't move around. Flip it over, got a little bit of loose wool here, and go back to my more robust, because there's wire under there, and I know I am going to break that fine 40 needle if I continue using it. It is just daring me to carry on. And you will break needles, whether you're a confident needle felter, a 10-year needle felter, or a 30-minute needle felter. It will happen. And then we're going to add the ribbons. So really small amount, pull away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mat it together in my hands. I'm not going to felt this at all. It doesn't need it. And the heat and the friction of rubbing it with your hands will do that. It's the agitation and the heat with wool will mat the fibres together. It's like what happens in the washing machine. And a teeny tiny jumper comes out that wasn't teeny tiny when it went in. Okay, now how did I start that? So I think I started at the back here. Yes, I did. So I'm just going to go to the back. I'm going to pin that down so it holds its position. But I'm just going to pull some more off. Hold it, pinch it, pull it. Just tack it down on the side. Just gently so it holds. And then come around the back. And felt at the rear, just so that holds. Not quite as good as the first one because I'm rushing it a little bit. But it will do. I'll go back and fix that later. And that's our little ballet shoes added. Now you don't have to do this, but if you've got time, then it's a really nice touch. There we go. Oh, I know what I've not done. Silly. Duh, I've not done the top. That's why it looks odd. So let's get that wrapped around there. So that, again, the joy is if you've made a mistake, you can find a way to fix it quite easily. Bring that back round. That's looking better. A little bit wispy, but I'll probably go over that with a very small pair of scissors later and just make sure that we can see the details. That's it. So there you go. Ballet slippers done. Really nice. Next, we're going to add the base of the dress. And I am using, now you can use the natural white wool tops, the Shetland, whatever else you've got. Or this is from World of Wool, and this is called White Lightning. And it's just a little bit brighter than the cream. And it really, it doesn't matter. The cream's absolutely fine. It's what I would have used if I didn't have this. But I'm going to go with the White Lightning. And then with this dress, I'm kind of gone for a puffball effect. So that's what I'm going to do here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to wrap the body. And to do that, I've got this wool top here. And I'm just going to wrap it round like a shawl, like so. And then fix it just in the back there and onto the shoulders. You don't want to overdo it because it wants to have air underneath it. You want to have it sort of quite billowy. And then I'm going to come round here like so and back round this way. But I want to go round and round and round. And just tack that down. And the same here, just bring this down. Remember, a lot of this it's all going to be covered, but we do need it to hold, but also we don't want to see any of the underneath body. And I may again just go over the top. So you can see that is holding nicely now, nice and firm as well. Get those sides really felted in. Right, we're going to go with another piece, but I'm not going to need that much. So I'm going to go over here. This top layer will hardly touch. And bring it round the back there. But it's not a shawl, we don't want it up behind the head, so let's bring that down. So it's just wrapping and felting really. Bring that in. Because we're going to have a band under here, and then we can lift up these sleeves later on, but we're not going to worry about those at the moment. And any excess we can actually start to create that band. And then I am going to leave the band till later because we've got to put the skirt on. Now the way I'm going to create the skirt is in one piece. I actually think we'd be better off going from the top, so let's split that then. So we'll do this. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to double that over. So this loose part of the wool is actually going to be felted around here. And I still think that's a bit long, so let's shorten it a little bit more. Let's spread that out. And then fold it over. And I'm going to just work along here until that's felted together at the top. I'm not going to felt any of this. But we really want that to stick. And then pull that gently away and go through the other side as well. Just so it holds, because it's going to be attached to the fairy. So you can see that line I've got there. Pull out any little bits of dark wool if you've caught any from anywhere else. I like to use a clean side, you know, white side, and then a coloured side for the topper. So I'll flip the topper over or just swap toppers. It makes it easier for your mat as well. You're not having to clean all the colours out of your mat. So just pull that away gently. You see how I'm just pulling that away. And then I'm going to work from the front. I'm going to have this excess here. May do something with that, I'm not sure. I may just trim it, we shall see. And I'm going to go in here. And I'm not bothered about needle marks here because, again, we're going to have that band on. So you can really see it starting to come together now. I'm going to come round to the back. Felt here. So we've doubled that over. We've got that nice puffy sort of puffball sort of style going on. And you could actually spray it with hairspray afterwards, but I've never added anything to this. This has been like that for about two and a half years. And then we're going to have an overlap at the back, just there. What I don't want is, when I did this one, I didn't have an overlap, and then I've got these little side splits, which are fine, but I didn't really want to do that this time. It's like every project, every one that you do, you will do something different the next time. And then we'll be able to pull that around. And then just poke through, mind your fingers, but you can just poke through like so, and that pushes that layer into that layer, and they will just attach and hold. We're going to have a lot going on top of this, so don't worry about finesse. And there we go. And that's going to look really nice. And I'm just debating whether to do a really glittery sort of, well, the shimmery bio nylon on there for the band. No, I don't think so, because I think it will be too white. So I'm going to go with this. Pop that there. Pull it round tight at the back, and I'm going to tie it. You see how that's working, and you can pull that quite tight. Keep your fingers close to the knot, and if you want to do it in a bow, you can, if it's long enough. If not, you can just trim the ends, but that's quite sweet. I quite like that. It's a nice bit of detail at the back. Or you could do the belt in a different colour as well, which would look really nice. And then I'm just going to go under there, because I don't want it over felted down onto the body. So that's looking really nice. Now we've got hunched shoulders. So let's get these tucked down. It's not a good look on this particular project. It's supposed to look elegant and dancerly. And now we can see how these sleeves can be just manoeuvred a little bit, just to give them more body and shape. And then if you wanted, you could bring that a little bit lower, so you just had some of that, just a hint of the neck visible, just to give it a little bit more, I suppose, depth, dimension. Just poke down. If you want to create a V, just straight down with your needle. And then let's get into here and make sure that we've got a definitive line for our neck. My eyes have gone wonky now. I'm going to have to, you can move these easily with your fingers, just move one up, one down, and it brings them back into position. And with the arms as well, I'm going to just have mine sort of splayed out, but you could have them posed as well, entirely up to you. Now to just finally check the dress and maybe some finishing touches, and what I've done is I've shortened mine slightly, if you can see. I've shortened this dress, and how I've done it, I've just gone underneath and I've just pulled in the base of the skirt and I've just tucked it down, so that will shorten it. So if you find that it's too long or you want it a bit shorter, more tutu like, then that is very, very easy to do. You just pull that in and then just poke that wool in around the base of the body, and that will shorten it for you. As you can see, I've done there. Just check you're happy with the positioning of everything. I may cover that up later on and just tidy that up, but I don't think I'm going to be seeing much of that, so I'm not too bothered by that. And that is our fairy doll ready for the next part. Now, if you thought you were having fun, this is going to blow your mind. This is it just takes me back to dressing up dolls when I was little. You know, it's something that's always there, and you know, it's so much fun and it's so relaxing. And if you've got kids, you know, and they can get involved in it, they can help you choose colours. Obviously, if they're young, they can't use the needle, but they can get involved. They can help choose the colours. They can work on the bits that don't need the needle. You know, they can do the twizzly bits, which we'll come to. And if you're going for something more simple without the legs, then, you know, the hair I will talk about, but this is just wool tops. I've plaited those and I really love that effect. That's really nice. And then we've got, this is called Throster's Waist. Let's have a look. There's a nice part there. So this is silk Throster's Waist, and that is absolutely gorgeous. I use that in a lot of beach pictures as well, but it is just one of my favourite embellishments, and everyone who's seen me use it then goes on to use it themselves. It's just so nice. And that's silk waist. I think there's a really good seller on Etsy, and I will pop a link below for that. If I don't put the link in, remind me. So we are going to get really creative, and you can go really simple, or you can just go full on and throw everything at it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as you can see on this one, we've got these lovely little embellishments around the waist, and they're really easy. So what I've got here is I have this beautiful raspberry sort of colour, and I'm just going to pull little sections away and try and keep it away from the white dress. So you just want little wisps. I'm going to attach these around the skirt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that over, and this time, instead of it being like we did with the dress, we're going to have where the bend is, that is going to then be felted into this waist. And don't worry about what's going on here. That will be covered. You won't see any of this. What we want is these lovely sparse thin strands coming down, these little wisps, and then leave a gap. And then if you want, you could even spread it out a little bit if you want it to make the job a little bit quicker. You can have different thicknesses and just pull those out so you've got those nice wisps. And then for contrast, I've got this. This is tweed. It's like a purpley pinky, and it's actually called tweed. Again, this is a World of Wool blend, and I'm just going to pop that in the middle there. So we don't want to overwhelm it with that dark colour, so we'll pop in some more subtle shades in here, and then we can actually pop some of that on the top as well. And continue with that. If you've got some curls, you can add some curls in. This is Blueface Leicester locks, so I'm going to have these a bit shorter and probably here, so just pop those in there. These I've got Blueface Leicester, oh no, that's art yarn, but very similar. I think it's Blueface Leicester art yarn, and I've added these to the Winter Fairy, so it just adds some extra detail. So carry on around the dress until you're happy with what you've got, and then we will come back and add some different embellishments for the top. I've got an idea of what I'm going to do, so finish that and then we'll come back and I'll see you back here in a moment. As you can see, I've gone around the skirt. I haven't done all the twizzly bits yet and the finishing touches because it will get disturbed as we're working around it, adding the other elements. So we'll come back to that at the end, but you can see straight away how that is starting to look really, really beautiful. The colours are lovely. I'm not sure about the purple on the shoes. I don't seem to have anything else. I don't know why I've used that colour, but I may change that. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to, now if you've decided that that's enough for you, then you're going to wrap a belt around it, and I'll show you how to do that. But I wanted to add a little belt of petals around because I just think that it will look absolutely stunning when I've got all of those around. So I've done them all apart from one because I'm going to show you how easy they are to make. Now I have a blend of, you could use Angelina fibres. This is that lovely shimmery bio nylon. So rather than a full-on glitter, it's more of a shimmer. So it sort of reflects the light, and that's really nice. So that's the shimmery bio nylon. Then I've got the other, I've got a carded raspberry, the same as I've used on the dress, and a really light pink. Now if you're only using a small amount, then you can just blend everything by hand. But if you're doing a lot of blending, then these are dog slicker brushes. I think you can get these in HEIDI Feathers. They're really cheap, so you don't buy the really expensive felting carders unless you're doing wet felting or you want large amounts. And then all you do is you just pop that on the brushes, and as you can see, that's starting to blend. Pull that off again. And that's it, and it just starts to blend, and you can blend it until it's really even, or I quite like to have, you know, elements of light and dark in it, and then that just pulls away and that is ready to be used. And then you can just do a final blend with your hands if you're not happy with the blending, if you want to do a bit more. So let me show you how easy it is. Now I've made all these leaves. Once you've done one leaf, you can use that as your template. I have little leaf cookie cutters, but I'm not going to use those because I haven't got the size I wanted, as you can see. Too big, too small, and then not the one in the middle. I'm going to show you how really, really easy it is. So I have I took pinches of wool, all about the same size, so that I knew I was using the same amount. I'm using the firm 38, and I'm going to draw with the needle a petal shape. Don't know if that's showing up, but there's a reason that we do this, because we want that to stick to the mat a little bit. Can you see that? So we've got this petal shape there. And then what I'm going to do is, it's now holding onto the mat. So what I'm going to do is, once I feel that resistance, I'm going to stop pulling that over. And I'm just going to draw it in. Because we want these to be quite firm. So we want a decent amount of wool. We don't want them to be floppy, because we want them to hold the shape. And that's the beauty, is if you really, you know, if you felt wool quite firmly in these little petal shapes, they will really hold nicely. So we just work that in. And don't worry about the shape at the moment, just bring that to the centre. And flip it over. Can you see that pulling away from the mat? So you don't over felt in the same place. You're going to get that. That's unavoidable. And then if you're doing a lot of felting, then I would definitely advise one of these for flat felting. This is a 7 needle punch tool. I mentioned them earlier. You get the clover ones, and these are the ones. I think one's made in China, one is made in Hong Kong. And this takes up to 7 needles, but I've only got 4 in there because I don't need the 7. But it just really, it's like the big guns. It's super fast. So if you're doing a lot of this, absolutely worth investing in. I think you can get these for about £8. I think the clover one is probably twice the price. And I've used these for over a decade and never felt the need to get a clover one. I think I have got one somewhere, but I tend to use these. And you see how that's not even sticking to the mat anymore. It's really fast. And then because I've blended the bio nylon, the shimmery fibres in with the wool, the wool has caught all of those fibres, so that's stuck together really nicely. And then to make sure that they're all the same shape, if you haven't got the cutter and you know you like doing it freehand, which I do, you can use one leaf as your main template, lay that on top of the leaf, the petal or leaf that you're working on, and you can make wings this way. It's a really good way to make little wings if you want to add some wings on. I am going to, but I'm not going to use wool. I'm going to use some skeleton leaves for the wings because I want something a little bit more delicate, because there's a lot going on. I want the wings to be a little bit subtle. But in light of the time of year and the fact that it's a fairy, subtle isn't an issue. You can be as loud and vibrant as you wish. You just go with whatever floats your boat. And you see I'm using that template, so I can see that that is now starting to resemble the shape of the one on top. Make sure you don't felt them together. So you're pushing this side. Be careful of your fingers. I would definitely advise finger guards again for this part of the project. And then now we just need to work around the edges. I'm going to go away from the 38 and I'm going to use a fine 40, because a 38 is going to push, let's see, push gaps in there. It's going to make it uneven, whereas the 40 is much more delicate, just works in that very top layer. So you've got a really nice, neat edge. So narrow at both ends, but one end, you don't overwork the wool because that's going to get attached to the top of the skirt. This is going to be the end that sticks up. And they don't all have to be exact, just very similar. And obviously you don't want one that's twice the size. And just bring those wisps in with my needle. And then just get hold of that. Roll the end between your finger, and then immediately you've got this lovely neat edge, and you can leave that wisp long, or you can actually just trim off the excess. And then because it's nice and firm, when we bend it, when we roll it like so and into that petal shape, it will actually hold. So I have quite a few here. I'll attach a couple. You can go off and make the others if you're going to. I won't go through the whole process because you may have already decided that that's enough. and then we shall work on the head. So I'll just attach the first one. So all I'm doing, I'm going to put one in the center there. I'm going to go in with my fine needle. Now the fine needle will actually felt this in really well, so you just need to be careful of the wire underneath. You're only just going through the top. And there we go. And then I'm going to work round and add the others. And if you are leaving it like that, then take a length of white wool, wrap it round right under the arms because you want it to come higher. Wrap it around the arms and then tie it at the back. And you can either felt that in and then trim that off, or you could have a nice big bow. And you don't have to use white, you could use a contrasting colour. But then what that does is it gets rid of all the marks where you've felted around and added this layer in on the top skirt, and it just immediately neatens it. So if you are ready for that, then you do that. If you want to make the petals, carry on with those. I'm going to carry on adding mine, and then it is time to work on the hair and the wings. Okay, that's the outfit finished. If I was just using petals, then I would make sure there were no gaps, but because we've got quite a bit going on under here, then I wanted to leave a little gap in between, otherwise everything else gets lost. And then with the band here, I just added some of that shimmery nylon that I had, but again, Angelina fibre you can use if you want to. So we're almost there. We've just got to get the hair on now. I've got a little crown and then the wings. And you can use whatever colour scheme you were going with. I mean, for example, this one is a forest fairy, and she's really, really cute. And what I'm looking for is a little bit of this green wool. Here we go. So what I did with my other forest fairies was I actually just had like a fawn coloured leg, and then I attached some curls around the leg. So it actually looks as if they're part of the forest. You know, you've got the leaves sort of running up and down the legs, and I love that idea of just going with a more natural forest fairy look, and that's a brilliant project for autumn. So back to this one. Okay, hair. Now entirely up to you. I have got some plant dyed art yarn here. That's the pink, so it's plant dyed hand spun art yarn, and then I've just got this plain white hand spun art yarn, and I believe it's Blueface Leicester, and I get my art yarn from Highland Colours. She does some absolutely gorgeous blended art yarns. She does the blues, this one on the forest fairies. You've got these more natural locks, absolutely brilliant she is. This is banana yarn, so you could use that would actually look really nice on the dress as well. So banana yarn is gorgeous. It's so shiny, and you know, it's got that really nice natural shimmer. And then I've got this really beautiful art yarn here. You could do whatever you wanted with it. You know, you could make curls. You don't need curls to make curls. But I am going with the art yarn. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plonk that in the middle of the head. And because it's pure wool, and I'm using my fine needle because it just wants to grab the top. So we're not pushing through into the head. We're just attaching it and tacking it on to the top, and it will take some working in. There we go. And then you just attach sections at a time, and you can just sort of be quite random about it, or quite specific in the how it's laid out here, as you can see. And we were going to trim this, so anything that's, so we can actually trim that and double up that layer because that's quite long. So rather than cut it, I'm going to pop that on the top of the head, and then I will actually trim through that. And I've also got some white for contrast. So I'm going to pop that there like that. And I want a nice covering. And I want it to come quite far forward here because I want it just to sort of hang over the eyes. And again, it is going to be trimmed. So I'm just going to keep working on that. Okay, so the hair is on. I've gone a little bit wild with mine. You can obviously go with whatever style you like. Now, if you've made a tree topper or something to hang from the tree, I have just felted in a little bit of wool yarn, but you can actually sew it in if you want, but it's quite light, so just felting it in securely works really well. And then with this one, I'm just going to show you, I've added this little crown. And with this, you don't need any glue to stick that on. What you can actually do is pop it inside there and then just grab, a bit fiddly, but just grab a little bit of wool and poke that down through the edge of the crown. This is a metal crown just from Amazon. And that holds really nicely. Another crowns, silver crowns that I got from Amazon. These are gorgeous as well. And those I would actually probably stick onto the head before I put the hat around it. But they're beautiful as well. They're Amazon, not affiliated, but I will see if I can find the links of the ones I ordered. And then, because there's so much going on, I've gone for subtle wings, but instead of felting them, because these are, you know, really sort of big, blousy wings. And if you want to do that, then do that exactly the same way as you did with the as I showed you with the petals. It's just the same technique, just bigger. And I've gone quite loose with these, but you can really sort of spend more time felting them like I have done on this one. And I am just going to attach it. I'm going to see if I can felt these in with a little bit of wool. These are skeleton leaves. You're actually better just putting a dab of hot glue on them, but I'll see if I can get away with just popping in a little bit of wool there. That seems to be holding. They're really, you know, they're quite sturdy, but once you start poking at them, you start to reduce the integrity and you'll get holes in them, but that seems to have held quite nicely there. And then another one here, that down. And if you have really enjoyed this tutorial or any of my tutorials, there's so many of them, you know, it'd be great, again, like I said before, if you could just give it a like, a thumbs up, a share even would be fantastic. Just to support the channel, just means I can keep doing what I'm doing. And there we go, the wings are on. Ask me anything in the comments. I will get back to you. If there's anything you're not sure of or you are feeling a bit stressed about a particular aspect of it. And then the last, really the final part, before I show you how to mount it if you want to mount it, is just to rearrange the skirt and then just twizzle these ends. And when you've done this and it's mounted and displayed, I like to go around with some hairspray and just spray these because it holds them in place where you've twizzled. You can't beat a good twizzle when you're needle felting for fantastic effects. And you could even do a full skirt like this rather than the puffball skirt. Pull these curls down, and you can go around and trim them if you think some of them are too long. Put that in there, bring that through, and that's it. And then you could have those petals up if you wanted, because they will hold their shape, or you can have them down. I'm not quite sure which way I prefer. I think I might have mine up. Just gives them more character, I think. But she is absolutely glorious. I absolutely adore her. Now what I've done here is I've just got a wood slice. I'm just going to pop her off, very undignified. That's the bio nylon that I've used as the base. Now here I've got a barbecue skewer, and I've just used, you know, one of the awls or a brad awl. It looks like this. You just poke a hole through with one of those, no need to drill, and then the flat end, cut the barbecue skewer, pop the flat end through there, and then you can pop it up the back, not too low because you want those legs to be off the ground. I still think I'm going to change the colour of those shoes, and then you can actually maneuver and position those legs any way you wish. And then I just, to cover the base, make it more festive, just popped a little bit of that bio nylon there, but you could use anything. Just white wool would work really well if you wanted to, or you could just keep it natural. And that is it. She is an absolute beauty, and I hope you have loved making her as much as I have. It'd be brilliant if you could send some photos. I'll pop the email address in the description. And thanks so much for joining me. I'll pop all the materials list in the description as well for you, so you know exactly what you need. Thanks so much, and happy felting.